everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Swagman XC2 Bike Platform Rack right here on our 2022 Chevrolet TrailBlazer. So this is definitely the bike rack you would go with if you don't want to spend too much, but you still want the comfort and the stability of a platform rack. This is what I call the minimalist bike rack. It folds up to be all nice and compact. You can store it inside your vehicle when you don't have bikes on it. Take it out, pop it right into a hitch, and suddenly you have a 2-bike platform rack. So we're going to take a look at this bike rack and just see how it fits with our Chevrolet TrailBlazer to see if it's the right fit for you, your bikes, and your vehicle. So this does not tilt away. If you want a tilt away feature where you can just tilt the bike rack down with the bikes on, those are your other more premium bike racks. But if you do want to access your hatch, you just have to take your bike off. One thing to note though with our bike on is look at how close it does get to our hatch. I have small pedals here, so if you have larger pedals, that might be something you're gonna have to think about. So to take the bike off, all you need to do is just remove the frame mounts. So these have a button, just press that button and then lift up on the hook. Slightly release this and then tilt this back and then lift it away. But since there's kind of limited clearance between our bike rack and our vehicle, we'll go with the next step. And that's that I take our hooks off completely and then I remove this pin right over here that's holding our mast up. And from there, I can just drop this down. And suddenly, you don't have to go over anything. You just have to go over your bike just a little bit and you're ready to go on a bike ride. So I'll just bring this back up so that we can put the hooks back into place. Just notice how easy it is to access the hole here. You just push that pin and then you get your hooks, you go up, and then you start putting this onto your bike rack. So 1 and then 2. So notice how these hooks ratchet down to secure your frame. If you do have, let's say, carbon fiber frame bikes, probably not going to be ideal because you don't want that extra pressure there, but this is usually more than enough for most of your standard size frames. So this is a compact bike rack, but it still adds some length to the back of your vehicle. Measuring from our bumper, and the furthest point is going to be right over here. It sits at 17 inches of length added. So again, very compact compared to your other bike racks, but still something to keep in mind whenever you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a tight spot. Don't forget that you have both bike rack and bikes behind you. Ground clearance is going to be from underneath your bike rack to ground, 16 inches. Compare that to the Shank to the ground, and that was only 10.5 inches. So ground clearance is something to keep in mind whenever you're going up steep inclines like those driveways or hills. Your front will go up, your back will go down, and you will want a good amount of ground clearance for your bikes. This gives you a slight shank rise though and helps out with that. So if you want to open your hatch, you're just going to bring this mast down. And then if you want to store this inside of your garage, you're just going to bring these arms up. So to bring the arms up, you just pull on those pins. You may have to just angle it out. There we go. So it's a nice even angle. Notice how these cradles can slide up and down depending on how tight you have them. So if you notice them moving around, just tighten them down a little bit more. And then with that up, you can just pop this into place and then that should secure that mast. So do the same for your other one. This can be tricky if you're not used to it just because you have to get these arms perfectly aligned in order to fit that pin through, but practice makes perfect. This is the perfect position to take a look at the closest point. So from our hatch to the end of that wheel loop, it sits at 5 3/4 inches of clearance, which is actually plenty of clearance. With this behind your vehicle though, notice how our rear window is completely visible. Our rear taillights are obviously visible too. If these arms were down, your backup camera sits right over there where that arm on the left or the driver's side is. So if those arms were down, you'd probably have pretty good clearance. Either way, you have a very thin mast here, so no issues at all with that. You would still see the bike rack behind you, but you'll still be able to see a good view behind your backup camera. This has an 1.25 inch shank with a 2-inch hitch adapter. So that hitch adapter uses bolts to secure itself 2-inch and 1/4 shank. This has a bolt that comes right in there and a clip. So that bolt uses a 3/4 inch socket. I highly recommend using a socket wrench or a socket like that, just because it's so much easier to tighten that down. But that creates an anti-rattle effect and holds the bike rack with the adapter close to your hitch receiver. So let's demonstrate that. As I shake our bike rack just to show the road sway and vibration and the movement, look how I'm really just moving the car here. That's because we have a really nice secure fit there. I know some people are worried about when there's an adapter on an 1/4 shank. Will there be extra movement? As you can see here, we have a really good fit. So my personal thoughts about this bike rack is, if you're just looking for the bare necessities and you don't want to spend extra for extra bells and whistles that you don't want or you don't need, this is what I would go with. It gives you a nice stable platform for your 2 bicycles. Now, it's going to be kind of tricky figuring out the best way to position your bikes, where you put the cradles, where you tighten it down, how to put the pins in place. But that's just what you get for a minimalist bike rack. If you want other things like straps or locks, we also have cable locks here at etrailer that you can put around the bike rack. You can also get a lock that can go onto the end of your hitch pin or hitch bolt. That might help out with making this a little bit more secure. But all in all, it gets the job done and it does it very affordably. So this was a really quick look at the Swagman XC2 Bike Rack right here on our 2022 Chevrolet TrailBlazer.